I am honestly so over this little narrative about the Texans, and I simply cannot wait for that narrative to go away this season. I mean, seriously, you turn on the TV, you hop on Twitter, or you hop on Google and Google the Texans to see whatever Texan news is going on, whatever Texan articles are being put out there, and the national media is all saying the same thing. This Texans offensive line is no good. The Texans have to do something about that offensive line to protect Deshaun Watson. And you hop on Twitter, you talk to fans from other teams, and they're like, well, I mean, your team is cool and all. They have a cool team, but that offensive line is not good. And then you have to sit there and explain to them how that's not the case anymore, how the Texans' offensive line is actually good now. And it's funny because I even see some Texans fans to this day that still think the Texans' offensive line is bad. And for all those people that think the Texans' offensive line is still bad, those are the same people that just watch the box score, the stat sheet. They're stat sheet watching. They don't watch the actual games, because if you look at the stat sheet, you'll go, well, the Texans' offensive line allowed 40-something sacks last year, so they're still bad. I mean, that's their logic. They're just looking at the stat sheet. They're not actually watching the games. If they actually watched the games, they would know that Deshaun Watson accounts for at least half of the sacks. And now look, here's the thing. Like my boy Ed Honcho from Saw Sports says, and I love this saying that he says regarding Watson, you got to take the good with the bad. Meaning, yes, he might hold on to the ball too long sometimes, resulting in sacks. But, you know, some of your favorite Deshaun Watson plays are probably a play where Deshaun Watson held on to the ball a little too long and then made something out of nothing. You know, Ed Honcho from Saw Sports said that. Shout out to him. And it is 100% true with Deshaun Watson. Now, can he get better? Can he improve regarding that aspect? Absolutely. But we're not talking about Watson today. We're talking about the offensive line. But when we talk about the offensive line, you also have to mention Deshaun Watson a bit. So, you know, regarding the stats, the huge sack numbers last year, yeah, that's on Watson holding on to the ball a little too long. But the offensive line, as you guys know, traded for Laramie Tunsil last year, 2 first-round picks. Not counting the second-round pick because I like to, you know, consider that a trade for Kenny Stills. So Kenny Stills was for the second-round pick and Tunsil was for 2 firsts. So 2 first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil. We drafted Max Sharping in the second round. Nick Martin finally... Okay, let me just talk about Nick Martin for a second here, honestly, before I go on. Nick Martin is one of the most underrated Texans. And the fan base, for whatever reason, they think he's a scrub. He is no scrub. I'm not saying he's Travis Frederick, Jason Kelsey, but he is actually a good center. I will even say it. Nick Martin is a good center. Look what happens when you finally surround Nick Martin with talent. He does good. He has an offensive line around him. He has a good right, or a decent right guard in Fulton to his right. To his left, he has a rookie, Max Sharping, who showed a lot of promise. Once you finally surround him with decent talent, you saw Nick Martin look better. Maybe the contract gave him a little extra boost of motivation. Obviously, staying healthy this offseason and actually having time to train probably helped as well. But to me, Nick Martin was never a bad player. He was an inconsistent player. He'd have games where he was, you know, on point, amazing. And then games where he was like, what in the world are you doing there, buddy? But now, this season, he finally put it all together and he had a good slate of consistent games throughout the whole season. Like, really think about it. Like, did Nick Martin really mess up all that much last season? No, he didn't. Nick Martin was fine. He is a good center, and he's probably still going to continue to improve as the offensive line gels some more. So, Nick Martin, underrated, underappreciated Texan. And at right guard, you have Zack Fulton, and right tackle, first-round pick, Tytus Howard. Now, let's talk about Laremy Tunsil for a second here. Laremy Tunsil. A lot of people say he wasn't worth the trade. I think he was absolutely worth the trade, and I will do it again, and I will do it 40,692,006,042 more times. I would. And a lot of people are going to point to his false starts. Now, his false starts, I think that issue stems from him coming in 3-4 days before the season started, so he didn't get the whole off season to actually get the snap count down. Nick Martin's and Deshaun Watson's tendencies, or Deshaun Watson's cadence, to know when that ball's actually going to be snapped. Now, if you look at players like David Bakhtiari, Tyron Smith, Trent Williams, and these top tier left tackles, watch them closely. They usually jump on point. The second the ball is snapped, they're already ready to go. There's even times, especially David Bakhtiari, there's some times where it looks like David Bakhtiari false started, but nope, that thing was on point. Now, Laremy Tunsil, he is an elite left tackle. He was just trying to do that, but since he's new to the team, he couldn't get that down. That's why he false started. It wasn't because he's dumb, or because he sucks, or because he was smoking that devil's lettuce before the game. No, it was just simply he wasn't used to playing with the team. So, false starts with Tunsil will improve. Do not worry about that. Laremy Tunsil is an absolute stud. Arguably the best young left tackle in the NFL. Top 3 left tackle without a doubt in my opinion, because Trent Williams hasn't played in a year and he's injury prone. And Tyron Smith, as good as he is, he's injury prone. So it's just David Bakhtiari, Laremy Tunsil, and Ronnie Stanley. That's it. Everyone else, they're not anywhere near as good as Laremy Tunsil because they ain't elite. Anyways, moving on to left guard, Max Scharping. He showed a lot of promise his rookie year. Second round pick, like I said. And I think he's going to improve. I mean, he's healthy. He's ready to go. He's probably out there training, getting stronger. Because obviously, rookie offensive linemen, they all need to improve in their strength. And, he's going to be going into his second year. And only good things can come then. And we already talked about Nick Martin. Now let's talk about Zack Fulton. Zack Fulton, a lot of people want him out. But I don't understand that. Now, Zack Fulton, run blocking wise, not good. Not good at all. Pass blocking wise, he's good. I don't understand why people want Zack Fulton out. People want your offensive line, for whatever reason, to consist of Laremy Tunsil, Quentin Nelson, Jason Kelsey, Zach Martin, Lane Johnson. That is just not going to happen. It is unrealistic to build an offensive line filled with Pro Bowl players. We already have one with Laremy Tunsil. Max Scharping, he has the potential to be one. Nick Martin, he was a Pro Bowl alternate. And Tytus Howard, he's probably going to be a Pro Bowler too. You do not need to have all these Pro Bowl players on your offensive line. At least not all starting 5. That's just extremely unrealistic. And that's really the only reason why people want Zack Fulton out. He's not a bad player. He's not. He's average. Anyways, moving on. Tytus Howard. Tytus Howard, unfortunately, he is coming off an injury. But I think he'll bounce back fine. I think he'll get better as well. I mean, the offensive line had a significant drop-off from Tytus Howard to, Chris Clark and whoever else, Rod Johnson, that played there at the right tackle spot. I mean, Tytus is clearly better than them, especially in the run game. So with Tytus coming back, him going into his second year, and Max Scharping going into the second year as well, that offensive line is going to be very, very good because Laremy Tunsil is also going into his second year with the Texans. He's going to have a whole offseason to get this whole thing down, the false starts, and the offensive line, they're coming back. All five of them, the five starters from last year. That's the first time this has happened like in a very long time. So you know what they say with offensive lines, like they need time to gel. Well, they had all last year for the most part, and now they have a full off season, and they're going into year two all together. Like, yeah, I think that's kind of something that's being overlooked. And honestly, my realistic expectations for this offensive line is for them to be easily a top 10 unit. You know what? I'll even push it even further. A top 8 unit. Because Laramie Tunsil, like I said, one of the best left tackles in the NFL. And I think that's undeniable. Max Sharping, potential is sky high. Nick Martin, a lot of you guys are underrating him. And Zack Fulton, he's average. And Tytus Howard, I think he's going to be an elite Pro Bowl right tackle. I think the Texans will have the best tackle duo in the NFL in a couple years with Laramie Tunsil and Tytus Howard. Now, sacks-wise, like I said at the start of the video, Deshaun Watson accounts for a good chunk of sacks, but you got to take the good with the bad. Now, if I were to put a number on it, it'd probably be around the 32 to 36 range. It's going to take another drop, and I think part of that will be because of the offensive line will be way better. Penalties wise, I think that's going to drop significantly because Laramie Tunsil's not going to get 13 or 14 false starts again next year. It's just not going to happen. And run game wise, now Laramie Tunsil, he's a good run blocker, but Tytus Howard I think is our best run blocker. Max Sharping's a decent run blocker. Nick Martin, he has his days. I mean, he's a better pass blocker than run blocker, but Zack Fulton, he's just a straight up pass blocker, can't really run block. So run blocking wise, I see them being middle of the pack, maybe a little bit higher than that because I'm honestly not too convinced with our running back situation, but we'll talk about that in another video. Anyways, yeah, I think this Texans offensive line is going to be very, very good next season. Borderline elite, if not elite. And hopefully this whole Texans offensive line equals bad narrative goes away because I am sick and tired of seeing Texans fans of other teams, the national media, saying that this Texans offensive line is bad. And honestly, I think this Texans offensive line is somewhat on par with the Colts offensive line. As crazy as it might sound. Laramie Tunsil, way better than Anthony Costanzo. Now, they got Quentin Nelson over Max Sharping. I just think that's undebatable. And, Nick Martin and Ryan Kelly, that's pretty comparable. They're not, these Travis Frederick guys, but they're not also bad. And right guard wise, well, Zack Fulton is better than Glowinski, and it's not even close. Right tackle wise, I think that one's a flip of a coin. You could take Braden Smith, or you could take Tytus Howard. They're both very good right tackles, who I think they're both going to be very good right tackles for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, this Texans offensive line, it's better than a lot of people think. It's better than a lot of people give them credit for, and I cannot wait for next year so they shut the critics up because it is annoying. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys for today. Comment down below your opinions on the Texans offensive line, your expectations for them, and be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.